G'day guys, today I'm going to be starting my second attempt at a free-to-play DDO series. I'm not going to be using VIP subscription or any money whatsoever, and I'm going to walk through everything as though I hadn't made my previous attempt, so if you're completely new to the game then this is the perfect starting point. Hopefully I can provide some useful information. I certainly wouldn't consider myself a master of this game, although I know everything about it. My character builds probably aren't perfect, and there are some quests I avoid because I hate them and I'm probably not smart enough to run them properly. So you have to put up with that, but this is a basic leveling guide as to what I do when I'm getting through my first life. So this coincides with a massive quest giveaway from Standing Stone Games. I made a video last week notifying people that it was out, though I'm sure most people already saw it. As you can see, I've got no money, and this is a new account. This isn't what I usually play on. So what you want to do to redeem code is just this. Type in this, and there we go. We've unlocked all of those quest packs that would usually... Oh, okay. Hopefully that worked. We'll see. We've unlocked all of those, I think, and that'll allow us access to all of those quest packs that we didn't before, and that you'd usually have to pay for. It did work. It's just being funny. Cool. So that's the bulk of the game really, and on top of that there's going to be a few packs that usually cost a lot of store points that are reduced greatly to only 100 points, like Ravenloft. Oh, there's this here, this is new, I haven't actually seen this one. There's Menace of the Underdark and Shadowfell there, and then there's Mists of Ravenloft, and I'm not seeing Shan, but Shan should be in here. I don't know why I'm not seeing Shan, it should be in the high level. Oh, anyway, I'm sure it'll appear. But yes, all of those 4 packs are free to play. Well, they're not free to play, they're 100 points, but we're going to be earning them by playing for free, so it should be pretty easy. In this game, you earn free DDO store points by getting favour with certain houses within the game. You get that favour with those houses by completing quests that they give you. It's quite easy to grind up 100 points on a new character, so we'll already unlock Ravenloft from not doing very much work at all. I'm going to be playing my favourite class for a solo playthrough, which is a Wizard Palemaster. Probably not the easiest character to run if you're new to the game, because there are lots of things you can do wrong. There are lots of ways you can play it that aren't that effective. But if you wanted to follow what I'm doing, then it's a pretty safe bet that you'll be able to survive most content on very hard difficulties. At least hard or elite difficulties, which is what I'll probably be doing. So first we're actually starting off, this is a multi-class character. So this is a Pale Trapper. I attempted this last time, but I stopped doing that series. It's 2 levels of Rogue, which allows you to disable pretty much all the traps in the game, and you won't take massive damage from those. And it also gives you all of the beauties of being a wizard, which is pretty decent damage output, great self-healing ability, a very good self-healing ability. A Skeletal Knight, which can help you with unlocking levers and things that require 2 people. You'll be able to do that by just yourself. I mean, you'll probably run with a Hireling anyway, which is a contract that you can buy that lets an AI play with you in dungeons instead of a person. So my favourite way to play this game is solo. You might have somebody who already plays it, or you might meet people you want to play it with, and that's a perfectly legitimate way of doing it. I mean, that's what it was initially designed for. So, we take our first level, which is Rogue. Rogue is great to multi-class with a wizard because they both rely heavily on the intelligence stat, and also rogues get the most skill points at the first level by far. They get, I think it's 48 if you max out your intelligence, which is what I'm going to be doing. So they're very good. You can dump a bunch of points into the trapping skills on the first level, and then you don't really have to worry about them all too much as you level. You'll still put a few into them, but it's not that important. For this, I'm going to be using a gnome. They've got very high intelligence stats, they're small, good evasion. They learn a few moves in their racial tree, which I really like. You can freeze whole groups of enemies and stuff, and I think it's just a perfect complement to a wizard. You could also do a human if you wanted, you could do a halfling, you could do any race you wanted really. I mean, in this game you can play any combination you want. This is just my favourite combination. It's not essential. So like I was saying, intelligence is very, very important for both of the classes this character has, so we're just going to go full out and try and max it. We might drop it to 18 if we don't have enough of the other stats. The second most important would be Constitution. That's just our hit points, as you could probably imagine. What I might do here, take 2 out of this. You might be confused as to why I'm adding this to Strength. There are a few spells that get cast on you lower on that are an absolute pain in the ass to deal with, and they'll make you over encumbered, and you won't be able to hold a certain amount of gear. You might even not be able to walk. It's just incredibly annoying, and I don't want to deal with it, so we'll drop our intelligence to 18, which is still very high. Our constitution's at 16, and we might put... how about we go... we'll do that, and then we'll dump the rest into Dex. So that's a pretty decent layout for a rogue, and pretty decent layout for a wizard. So that should serve us pretty well as we're playing. Some people don't bother putting any points into Dex. I do. I don't know. Yeah, that's my personal preference. So now we're going to skill points, and we're going to be getting a lot of skill points. So we'll start from the bottom. We're going to want 2 points into Spellcraft. That's the most we can do because we're not a spellcasting character. We're not able to get the +1 to go all the way to +4, so we'll just get +2 here. We're also going to want to do the same for Concentration. These are both essential spellcasting skills. Use Magic Device. We'll probably get some of that. Yeah, we'll just stick 4 into that. That's useful. I always do 1 into Tumble. It lets you roll around. If you don't unlock this now, you'll never be able to do it. So I just add a point into that. Search, we'll do the full 4. Spot, we'll do the full 4. Open Lock, the full 4. I don't usually bother with Repair because we're soloing and there's nothing I need to repair. Balance is worth a few points, but we'll see what we're left over with. Disable Device. Stick a few into Jump. Listen. Don't really need Move Silently, but we might use that. Haggle is useful. It's useful especially as a first life character because you won't have much money, and this just gets you better prices for the things you sell and makes things cheaper for you, as you'd expect. So that could be useful. We'll see if we have room for that. Tumble, yeah, we'll keep 1 point in that, 1 point in that. Okay, yep, well, we've maxed out what's really important, so now we can splash these in other areas. So we may as well, what we'll do is we'll stick 2 into heal. Pale-Master is a necromancer, and it uses the heal stat to determine negative damage, which is what we're going to be using with that character. So it's quite wise to drop 2 points into that just to start off with, give you some additional spell power. Have a look. Move Silently isn't that important, we're not going to be creeping around anywhere. So Hide isn't either for us. If we're playing a true rogue, those would be more important, but as I say, we're not going to be hiding. We could put some into Swim. Perform is only for bards, really. So, yeah, we'll stick some in Haggle. We'll just do that. Nice and simple. Don't want Diplomacy. So I'm pretty happy with that layout. And for our first feat, there's a few you can choose here. I tend to go with Insightful Reflexes, because as you can see, it uses your Intelligence modifier to reflex saves, instead of Dexterity, and our Intelligence is way higher, and it's going to be way higher throughout the entire game, because we're a wizard. And we're not going to care about Dexterity that much because we're only classing into Rogue for its evasion feat and tracking abilities. So yeah, that should be fine. You could also go, if you want, with Toughness. That's just hit points. As you level, you'll be a tougher character. You can see you get 3 and +1 every level. So if you do a Heroic Life, that's only an additional +23 hit points. It's not amazing. You can also get hit points through your enhancement trees, pretty much most enhancement trees. You could go for Augment Summoning, which makes your summoned creatures a bit stronger, or you just have a look and see what you prefer. Magical Training, I believe, spell points. Oh no, you get granted that. Yeah, that's just granted automatically. So yeah, those are my recommendations anyway. I'd go for Insightful Reflexes. It makes you harder to hit by far. Yeah, that looks like a pretty healthy character. So now you get to go into the wonderful, I'm going to make this true neutral, you get into the wonderful customization that DDO offers. Gnomes actually look pretty good in this game compared to other things that are added later. They're only fairly recently made free to play. And this guy looks like a Borderlands character to me. Same style, cartoonish style. Rodent magic. Beautiful. We have rodent magic. So, time to load in to this beautiful game, and I'll explain some of the functions and things you can do. We're going to be yelled at by Jeets, who's this little halfling who'll manifest over here in a second. I've chosen to go with Orion because it's been my home server for like 5 years. It's recently experienced a massive population boom, so we might get some lag. There he is. So what I'm going to do right now is just mute him because I don't want to listen to that. You get your daily dice roll. So we have silver. You won't get gold unless you're a VIP, and really the only difference is gold is far better than silver, as you can imagine. You can still get some decent items through the silver daily roll. You get 300 XP and some angel tears. Very useful. So to get into your inventory is just I by default. To see your stats is C by default. You can tab into all of your different spell points and skills and everything like that. P is your basically all of the quests and wilderness areas and challenges and your favor, so that's quite important. It's definitely worth checking that. M is your map. To open up the map, you can also just click this here, that's fine. To get to the store, you want to click on this, and this also just gives you shortcuts into everything. This is your chat window. I put combat on its own chat so I can see what damage I'm doing. It doesn't really matter though, but yeah, that's generally how I keep it. And this is your ability bar, so your hotkeys. I'm not going to sneak around, I don't want that, I'm not going to heal anyone. These are useful. This is for finding traps, this is for unlocking things. We got Trip and Sunder. We probably won't use that much, but could be handy. We'll keep them there while I've got nothing else. Excuse me. So yeah, we'll go talk to Jeets. I'm going to disable the tips. I don't need the tips. You feel free to keep it on. Where are they? Gameplay. I'm blind. What is wrong with me? Is it somewhere else? Oh! That's weird, I would have thought that'd be in gameplay. Okay. So audio, will turn that back up. Now this is the very introductory scene. Obviously everyone will go through this if you've never played the game before, and it'll take you through like a tutorial stage, which I don't think you're allowed to skip because, I mean, it is quite useful. I think it needs to be revamped for a modern audience and be a bit more relevant and useful, but still, it's good to have that feature. Okay, now for our character we could use the quarterstaff, longsword, or the this one. I'd just go for the quarterstaff. Doesn't really matter. Cool. I'm just gonna move these. I'm very particular about my layout. Yeah, there we go.
Salinas is in the grotto. I shall show you the way.
It is actually quite good to grab all this money because, as you can see, we are poor. You arrive with nothing. Yeah, and you also get these nice little healing pots.
This is all from dragon-wrecked ships, like yours.
Thank you. I was intending to do this series with a webcam, but it's still in the post and I was too impatient to wait. I've invested in a better microphone because I was getting very sick of the original one. Alright, we've got a bunch of healing pots actually. I doubt we'll need them, and you can't die in this tutorial area, but we'll keep them anyway. Now, this one is, you have to do this solo. Something about these difficulties, as a free-to-play player, on your first life you'll only be able to go into adventures on normal difficulty, which is quite easy to be honest. Most characters will blitz through it on your first life. Only then on your second life will you be able to open all quests on hard by default, and then when you're on your third life you'll be able to open all quests on elite. Now if you're wondering what the hell I'm going on about with lives, in this game there's a feature, so once you hit level 20, which is the heroic level cap, you'll be able to either obtain or purchase a heart of wood, and that will let you reincarnate and you'll get benefits from whatever character stats you had in your first life or your previous life. So you can choose to have a racial reincarnation, which means you'll get bonuses relative to your race, which is the gnome. So I think for the gnome it's +1 to spellcraft. You'll have that permanently on your character now in all of your future lives. If you choose to do it by class, This is a wizard. You're going to get bonuses relevant to a wizard, so you're able to cast a magic missile, you'll get more spell points, or something like that. You can stack each up to 3 times, and the rewards of the racial reincarnations gradually get better. The heroic ones just stack and they're standard, so like you might get a heroic 20 plus 2 spell points, and if you get that life 3 times, you'll hit 60 plus spell points. So every future character will have an additional 60 spell points here. So you can get very powerful characters if you're willing to grind out enough lives. And with more powerful characters, you can do harder quests and maybe get into better guilds. I mean, guilds aren't too elite around here. You can get into most just by playing the game at this point. So it doesn't really matter. But if you want to do the end game difficult stuff, it's worth grinding out a few lives. Definitely. Your survivability goes up through the roof. I'm sure you know, but space is jump. You do take full damage in this game, but I don't think we have to worry about it. Yes. 3 whole points. I'm going to glug one of these. We're just going to maim this poor, decrepit old Sawagan, who's just minding his own business in his cave. Obviously, you hover over things and there's a little cog symbol and you just click on it and that'll interact with it. Some of the stuff will be very, very basic, but I'm assuming that you know absolutely nothing and maybe you haven't played a video game for a while. That's no insult to you, it's just I want to be as helpful as possible. Oh, nothing here. Oh no. As you can see, we're doing pitiful damage. That's because we're using staff and it's our strength stat determining our damage output, and ours is 10. Which it will stay as until we get some items maybe that buff strength, if we choose to have those. I don't know why you would as a wizard. Yeah, these are our elemental resistances, so it literally deducts the amount in these boxes that is deducted from every incoming attack of that element. So if you have a 20 fire defense, then every fire attack that hits you will have 20 minus from it. Same with these. This is magical resistance, so any magic attacks, and that's physical, any physical. Fortification is your defense against critical hits, so you want to get that up pretty high because being one-shotted out of nowhere... Oh, this is some Orion lag we've been having. Getting one-shotted out of nowhere is quite painful, so very wise to get some fortification. Here we go. Yes. Charisma is the main spellcasting stat for sorcerers and most bards, and Wisdom, I think, is favoured souls, clerics, and druids mainly. Obviously, Constitution is useful for every single class. Alright, we're going to swim. This has claimed many lives in hardcore. We're going to jump down, and you have to look down with your mouse. You just navigate with your mouse by holding the left, oh no, the right button on your mouse, so you can look all around. Nice. So, here are 2 shrines. Basically, if you're a spellcasting character or you have certain abilities that you get like a limited amount of in each dungeon, so you might get a sprint boost you can use 5 times in a dungeon, and you'll run out of those because you use them quite quick. Or you've blasted all your spell points away killing creatures or buffing yourself. You can use these rest shrines and that will completely regenerate your hit points and spell points. You can generally only use one rest shrine a total of once, but there might be 3 in the dungeon, so you have 3 rests. You can only use this particular shrine 1 time. That's usually the case. Now, resurrection shrines, if you're within a 10-second running distance of where you died, you're able to click on these and reincarnate, or resurrect, sorry. So you'll be brought back to life and you won't have to quit the quest. It's not usually in a very convenient location, and most often you won't be close enough to it to use it, but sometimes if you want to lure all your enemies to a resurrection shrine and fight them there, then you can quickly resurrect an unlimited amount of times and deal with them. So that's kind of useful. As a trap, and I should be able to disable it. I don't know if I have any tools. I do. So yeah, you click the search button, it comes up the control panel, you have to be facing it when you click it, and you don't want to move because it'll disrupt it. And yeah, there you can see that's our base. What we rolled here, we rolled 2 out of 20, which is pretty abysmal, but because we had a +9 to this particular skill, it passed. So as with, I think, pen and paper D&D, each trap has a certain number you have to hit, and your modifier will be added to your roll and determine whether you pass or not. If you fail the trap, it doesn't necessarily matter unless it's a catastrophic failure. Then you won't be able to disable it no matter what you do, and you'll just have to face the trap. That's worst case scenario, and it doesn't usually happen. Most times it'll fail and you can just try again. Get back here. Oof, I'm getting destroyed. What? Geez, you're a bit late, sir. Gonna have to wait for Salimas to recognise that we've killed them all. Yep, she's dead. And this is our treasure. So treasure is randomly generated. What you get is luck. Except for this one, because it's in the tutorial zone, so you always get the same 4 items. Water breathing ring, you can use it once in a dungeon or once per rest. And yeah, it just lets you breathe underwater for 1.5 minutes. Not very useful. There are tons of potions in this game and they all do very different things. Most of the potions are a version of a spell put into a bottle, so if you're not a spellcaster you can benefit from some of the buffs that you would get if you were. There is indeed, there's a hidden door, so same for traps. You want to use that button there. Cool. And whether you actually manage to detect or get a hint that there's a hidden door or trap nearby depends on your spot skill. So if your spot skill is shit, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to notice anything. Thank you. So, the next weapon. We'll get that. And there's your XP. So with experience points in this game, you need to fill up all 5 of these bubbles before you can level, and then you need to seek out the relevant trainer for whatever class you're going into. I can show you all of that, like actually in the game, instead of just waffling on about it. There's another person playing. There's a lot more people on this server now, that they've all kind of jumped ship. So you can see with the chalices above their heads, that's a quest you can pick up. And we've just picked up this quest, Hayden's Rest, from this lady. If you open your map, you can see the flashing door. That is the quest entrance. Sometimes when you pick up a quest, the quest won't have an entrance in your map zone, so you'll have to look by clicking L at the quest, and it'll tell you some more useful information about where the hell it actually is in. So it's in Korthos Village, and the name of the entrance. But usually if you just double click on whatever quest you want, it will make that door shine up. So we clicked on this one, it's not coming up anymore. We click on it now, there you go, Hayden's Rest is being told, well, we're being told where it is. Now these are the trainers I was talking about. If you want to level up into another level of rogue, you talk to this lady. If you want to be a wizard, which we do, we're not ready yet, but we'll talk to this guy. And basically they let you choose how to spend your points as you level. So we'll get an option as to what skills we want to invest in, what spells we want, basically everything to do with the leveling process. You have to talk to a trainer. You are able to choose your enhancement points by yourself. You just go in here, click enhancements, and there are your trees. So most of these trees aren't going to be relevant for us because we're going to be a wizard and we're not actually going to invest in any of these, so they can go away. Just click on set if you want it to disappear. The racial tree though is going to be relevant because we're going to splash a few points in there. Not right now, but as you can see, here are some of the buffs you get in the gnome tree. This is the ability I was talking about earlier. It's color spray. It will put a random effect on a bunch of enemies, so it's the closest I get to crowd control as the solo player. I just blast that and it will freeze a whole group of enemies, and then I can nuke them with fireball or whatever I want. So yeah, it does come in handy. we are going to probably see if we can pick up a hireling. We don't need one. I'm sure we can get through this next quest without it, but I'll show you how you do that. So right now, we don't have much gold. We might actually have enough to buy a hireling, I'll have to check. So, assistance, yep. We want a cleric, so out of all these hirelings, you probably already know the basics of D&D classes, but the only one out of these four here that'll heal me, which is all I want, is a cleric. If you want someone to beat all the enemies up for you while you hide, then obviously these two would be good, or the sorcerer. They'll all do the damage and you can just sit back and do nothing. But it's a viable way of doing it in early level if you're a weak character. Some classes only really come into their own later on in the game. Some start off very powerful and they don't stop being powerful. Some start off powerful and they end up being quite crap if you don't make the right choices. So it's totally up to you how you manage to fare in this game. Oof. I don't want that anymore. I also don't want the bow. Usually I'd advise keeping a bow on you somewhere because there are some quests where you have to shoot targets, but I'm just going to destroy that. We also got some chainmail, which is nice. Up my AC stat. There we go. Every new character starts off with this heart of wood. This lets you change your class choices. So if you screw up, you can fix that. People often do screw up, and if you have a character that's really bad and you made terrible choices and you can't fix anything because you've used up all of your abilities, like all of your hearts of wood and stuff, you don't want to buy one, I just say reroll. Don't stick with a character you hate just because you've invested some time in it. It's not worth it. That doesn't apply to every situation, but most. So here's the difficulty thing I was talking about. As a free-to-play character, we're locked into normal. On our second life will be hard, and last life elite. If you were a VIP, if you paid the monthly subscription, you could enter any difficulty you want, whenever you want, on any character you want, which is quite a big benefit to being a VIP. There we go. If you want to summon your hireling, just double click it. So as I say, it's just an AI companion. They're not very intelligent. In fact, I think most of them suffer from suicidal ideation. They're not the best at keeping themselves alive. So if you just wanted to focus on healing you and being a slave basically, you keep it on shield. If you wanted to have a mind of her own, which I don't always recommend, then you click on the two swords. Yeah, this will make her not move, so she can't go anywhere. Useful if you're about to travel over a lava pit, because they like to go swimming. This means they do nothing, they attack nobody, they won't do anything. This means you can get them to open something for you, so if there's a trap on the lever and you don't want to take damage, you can sacrifice Dryad, which will do it for you. There's Nimbus, that's an attacking move. This will heal you. If she's not doing it herself because she doesn't feel like it, then you can select yourself here and spam the heal button. That's useful. And yeah, some other crappy buffs you get at level 1. Cool. If it sounds like I'm being harsh on hirelings, then you haven't used one yet. There's that hidden door I was talking about. There you go, shuriken. Ranged weapon, and some axes, that's weird. Maybe they always spawn there. Be honest, I haven't done the tutorial scene since last time I made a video on it because I just skip it. You can't skip it the first time you play through, but as you level, and you're, oh, there's a trap here. In your next life you can skip it. I doubt this would kill us because we're on normal difficulty, but you never know. Obviously as the difficulty of the quest goes up, the damage the traps do goes up, the damage the enemies do goes up, a whole lot of things go up and get harder. I'm going to make her stay there. And I'll search for a trap on this side. I'm not sure where the next panel is. Oh, it's over here. If I wanted to be an arse, I could go trigger that trap and do big damage to her. There were some people doing that on the hardcore server, purposefully setting off traps to kill other people. Cool. Oops. These are just free weapons you can get in this first area. Oh, you need to come with me. So, clicking on the footstep symbol so she can help me. These first few quests will feel fairly grindy. They're just to introduce you to the standard dungeons that are throughout this game. So there's one in town where you defend something. There's another one with a puzzle. This one is collecting crests, and they're all big features in quests in the future. The quests do get more complicated. Some of them are incredibly complicated, and often I'll skip them, or I have to have somebody who knows what they're doing to run them with me. I can actually reduce the size of this map because that's a bit extreme. I always have it open like that. If it's a dungeon I'm not that familiar with or I've forgotten. This is all of our crap. We'll get a bag eventually to hold all of our gems and all of our ingredients. There's a whole crafting system to this game that is very complicated but also quite worthwhile messing around with. I don't know if I'll go too into that in this life. Cool. As you can see, there's the restaurant room, so I make a marker of it in my head, or you can walk up to it in the map so you remember where it is. It's worth having that at the back of your head, if it's a hard quest. Nothing? Nice. Oh, and when I'm doing the auto-select stuff around me, I'm clicking Q, and that will toggle everything in your vicinity. Makes it easy, sorry, to target things that are hidden under objects or just difficult to select, because sometimes it's really hard. Otherwise, if you see something you want to target properly, just use your right mouse button to hold it like that. Let go, hold. You can inspect people, examine, use. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, there's some quirks to this. Come on. Yeah, so the reason I'm making this series isn't because I consider myself the expert on this game or this subject, and it's not because I want to do it better than other people. I just really want people to keep playing this game. It's 17 years old at this point, and I'm worried that it'll just be taken down because of declining population. I think it's really worth trying out, at the very least. It has some very unique things that you don't find in other MMOs, and the level of character customization is just absurd. You can roll so many different characters in so many different ways and have a different experience every time. There's like, I think there's over like 500 quests in the game. I think there's like 650. Can't remember as of last time I checked, but there's a ton. So now we've got all our crests. This is a common thing in these adventures. I'm going to slot them in, and we're at the end. So these are obviously just to familiarize yourself with how the game works. It's not all this dull, and I think part of the reason people get put off this game is it's seemingly very complicated, which it is, but also the first few dungeons and the first few areas are just so boring. Alright, so this is our first randomly generated chest. There we go, and that's an item, well, obviously, with some stuff added to it. So you can see Impulse, we get a bonus to Force spell power. So if you're using a spell that is a Force type spell, you're going to get that bonus to damage. And Acid lowers the crit chance of that spell type. So we're not going to be using any Force spells for a while, but we might hold on to that. Cool, and when you're done with your adventure, if you're not near an exit, because sometimes you are, you just click Finish and it lets you recall, which is a handy feature to have. Cool, now we're going to go and return this quest. That's a good name, I like that name. Now both of these are crap. That's alright. That's crap. I think that's the only item in the game that actually gives you 2 negatives, so we're just going to use this. I suppose I'll equip it. Now this is that XP we got from the daily dice, so I'm just going to take it. Sometimes I save it to push me over the level cap if I'm close. So many new people, all level 1. Now we've completed that, you have the option to go help people around Korthos village. So help Linus, or you can go over and help Boulder. Whichever order you want, really. Boulder will make you protect a crystal. Linus will go get you to do a puzzle and retrieve a book, I think. We'll do this one first. It does support multiple difficulties, but my subscription does not. Get rid of this garbage. Cool. Be able to sell those gems soon. There are quests at this level I prefer doing, but I figured since this is going to be a first, like a introductory course, if you can call it a course, an introduction into this game, I may as well play what most players are going to be doing, which is Korthos Village. They're not bad quests, and they have a charm to them because they're my earliest memories of this game. But there are some quests that can get you better items and better XP at this level, which we might go and do at level 2. So, we'll see. If you're wondering why I'm smashing all the breakables, doing so in a quest gives you a bonus to the overall XP, up to 15% increase, so it can be quite drastic if you're playing a quest with a very high XP reward. There's the silver key. So we want to go back to that starting room. We could go back to it. Oh, there we go. Orange names are kind of like mini bosses. They'll usually have a chest tied to them. He does, as we can see. That sound you just heard, the big thud, that's when you hit a certain XP increase. So that would be letting us know that we have the Mischief bonus. Yep. So that's 8% to our overall XP. That's all we can smash right now. Yep, we want to open this door with the key. And we're greeted with the DDO floor puzzle, which is a very common quest element in this game. Basically you want to light up all of these rooms. So you get given this. Alternate the tiles around a bit. Oh, this one has to come from here. Okay. We've hit about. Oh no. Let's rotate this one. There we go. And it's over. So yeah, that's how you do it. We can actually just exit from here. This is what I was talking about before. You can leave from the entrance once you're done with the quest. Pretty sure there was a chest just then that I didn't open. That's okay. This gives you plus 5 hit points, which is probably the best thing we can ask for right now. Our character is a little bit deprived of hit points. We can see we're accumulating enhancement points, but we're not spending them because we don't have any wizard trees unlocked yet. We'll run this quick, and we'll be on to the storyline. So this intro area would have been around from 2006, 2007, I think, whenever it became free to play. Or maybe it was around before then, I'm actually not sure. I started playing in 2011. Let me go on top. No, doesn't seem to be possible. Dead. Yeah, this is just the standard guard something quest. There aren't that many in the game. And most of them you could just skip if you wanted. Most quests where there's a failing option, if you don't let somebody get killed in this game, are just painful by nature. Because a lot of the times you want to play those quests on high difficulty, and doing so results in instant death of whoever you're transporting around. There are ways to prevent that, but there's a quest in the waterworks, which is later on, where you have to guard someone. That's not so bad, you can get by in that one pretty easily. But there are others. There's a certain quest in an area called Threnor where you have to export a dwarven guy up a flight of stairs, and if you're not playing that on normal, then you are fucked. It's that simple. Maybe I just suck, but every time I play that quest, he dies. So, with your first playthrough, I'm gonna go through the process of not playing quests I think will be horrible for you. But if you were to play this game outright, there are a few quests you'll learn that just suck, or that you personally hate, and you'll never do them again. And that's perfectly valid, because you can level up in many different ways in this game, and there's lots of different paths you can do each life, so it's about working out which quests you actually like. And these are just my personal picks. Sometimes it can be very hard to know where to actually go to get quests at certain levels, or where you find them, how hard they are, what XP they give you, so I hope this can serve as a bit of a instructional video as to where to actually look for stuff. Where is he? There he is. Cool, and we're done. No chest in this one? No, I don't think there is. That sucks. Cool, these are all garbage too, I think. Yep. Let's take this because we can. I'm going to sell up some of our garbage. Yeah, I'll get rid of that. Cool. So we're accruing a bit of platinum already. It's not a lot. There is a cap on how much platinum you can have as a free-to-play character, which is very annoying. And one of the advantages of being pay-to-play, but this game has lots of things like that. You've just got to pick and choose your battles, really. I'd recommend getting VIP for a month, because that unlocks a lot of features that don't leave your account afterwards. Your account's just classed as a premium account, and you'll still benefit from some of those things. Some stuff will be taken from you, but some of those useful little abilities will still be there. So it's worth doing it once. Saw my hireling levitate there for a second. This is me tumbling by holding shift and the arrow keys, or the direction keys, WASD. So yeah, this is what I was talking about by having a separate combat box. You can make it bigger to actually be useful. But it'll just tell you what damage you're doing when you land a critical hit and useful stuff like that. I tend to look back on it after I finish the quest. Sometimes, anyway. Ooh, do we? What's that cloak we just got? Frigid Cloak of Acid Absorption. Well, we don't have a cloak on, so we may as well wear it. That is a flashy cloak. Look, gorgeous. So we go here. There are lots of zones and certain quests where there's like levels to it. You have to go through one door, teleport you somewhere else, and it can get complicated. What's in here? Despite how old these dungeon designs are, I still really like some of them. This guy can be seen in lots of dungeons. There we are, we've already discovered the shrines for this quest, so you can probably tell it's going to be fairly short. Damn, that was short. And we're ready to level. That's fast. Plus we get this bonus mini boss. Might give you a second chest, or it might just give you an XP bonus, I'm not sure. I think it was just an XP bonus. There we go. So we can take our first level of wizard, and that's probably where I'll wrap up the introduction episode. We can either next time continue with the Korthos line, or we can just leave and go to the harbour, which is kind of the central area for most of the game. Well, the marketplace is, but the harbour has a lot of quest entrances in it, so a lot of people running around. Thank you, Sigmund. What's this do? Plus 10 spell points, why not? Cool, so now we can go take our next level, which is good. What are you doing? Just so many people running around, I'm not used to it. So we want the wizard trainer this time. It's important you remember what trainer you want, otherwise you're going to have to use the Heart of Wood to pick your classes again. It's very annoying when you make that mistake. Wizard? Yes, I wish to train with you. Yes. So cool, we're going to be going on to our next. We're going to dump 3 into concentration, some into spellcraft, and maybe 1 into spot. Yeah. And our first wizard ability. Now, I usually go for meta magics to start with, something strong like maximize. Meta magics basically empower, well, there's one called empower. They make your spells stronger, they do more damage. If you're using a spell that you get from your enhancement tree, it does not increase the spell point cost. So you can get incredibly powerful spell-like abilities, which is what they're called. That's the spells you get from the enhancement tree. You can make them incredibly powerful and they'll still cost you like nothing in spell points. So it's a very good way to deal lots of damage and not waste all of your spell points. So I stick with maximize at this first level, and we're about to get our first SLA, so I'll show you that. You get to pick your spells to start with. It's totally up to you. Some useful ones to get at this early level: a Night Shield, Jump. I sometimes get Flaming Bolt. You don't need Detect Secret Doors, obviously. We can choose 7 that we can pick from. So I'll probably go with this. This makes you run faster. Flaming Bolt, it's good. It's got long distance fire attack. Jump. Master's Touch will let you use a big heavy weapon without incurring any penalties, but I'm not going to do that this time. We've got Night Shield, Shield itself, which we could get, I suppose. Still need 3 more spells. I guess I'll grab Master's Touch. We might end up using a big weapon. We'll get Bony Hands as well. And finally, why not Magic Missile? Or we could get Shield. Oh, it's tough. Oh, it's tough. We're not going to be encountering many people with Magic Missiles, that will say. I'm happy with that. Cool, now we can spend our enhancement points. So, go into enhancements here. We're going to pick which tree we want. I'm going to stick Master. And where is it? Oh, we do want some Archmage. And Eldritch Knight. These are the main 3 wizard trees. Well, I think they're the only wizard trees, but these are the main 3 trees this character is going to use. So we've got Dark Reaping here, which increases our negative spell power. Over here, we have an ability. We're going to go with Chill Touch. This is a Necromancy SLA, so this will do negative damage to your enemies. And as I was saying, you can buff this up with your meta magics without any additional cost. So this is critical for Elemental Force, critical for Necromancies over here. Most of our spell damage is going to be negative, but we will diversify into Fire, Acid, a few other types. It doesn't just have to be Necromancy. Increases your spell points. That's kind of useless. Same with that. And yeah, you really have to pick and choose what you like. I'm going to splash into here. We can get our Skeletal Knight right off the bat if we want. I'm probably going to wait a little while, and we can either go for Deathless Vigor, which increases our hit points. We can get the Necrotic Touch SLA, another good choice. Or we can get the critical negative energy. So all of those are good choices. I'll probably start with Necrotic Touch, 2 levels of that. You could do this many different ways. At this early level, I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Place these. Cool. So we have our SLAs, and then you want to go see enhancements. Feats. Maximize spell. I usually put this on my bar. I enable it by default, and then you can go through. You can go through and click your right key on your right mouse key on each of these abilities and choose what meta magics are on them. So these are set to always on now. So it's always getting buffed up by this. And if there are any spells you don't want affected, you can go and toggle them off. That's my preference, so I can sculpt each spell to do the damage I want it to do. And yeah, that's really it for the first video, I think. We're going to be either continuing with Korthos or going to the harbour next time. And we'll get a better hireling and all of that jazz, so should be interesting. Thank you for watching the first video, and if there are any questions or things I didn't touch on, I'll continue to touch on things later on that I haven't yet because they're not relevant yet. But if there are any questions you want answered, then please let me know and I'll do my best.